Book of Heaven, Volume 13. 2nd to the 16th of September 1921. Page 16 to 22. September 2, 1921. One who goes out of the divine will, goes to meet all miseries. Each additional knowledge prepares the soul for another greater knowledge. I was lamenting to my sweet Jesus because of these blessed writings, which they want to put out. I felt as if I wanted to withdraw from his will, and my sweet Jesus told me, "My daughter, what? You would want to withdraw from my will? Too late. After you yourself bound yourself in my will has bound you with double chains to itself in order to keep you safer. You have lived as a queen in my will, you have accustomed yourself to living with most delicate and nourishing foods, indomitable by anyone, but dominator of all, even of yourself. You are used to living with all the comforts, immersed in immense riches. If you go out of my will, you will notice immediately that, as soon as you go out of it, you will feel misery, coldness, the lost dominion. All goods will disappear from you, and from queen you will become a most miserable servant. So, you yourself, upon feeling the great contrast which exists between living in my will and going out of it, will plunge yourself even more into the depth of my will. This is why I say to you, too late. And then, you would take a great contentment away from me. You must know that I acted with you as a king who begins to love a friend, who is very dissimilar from him in status, but his love is so great, that he has decided to make him similar to himself. Now, this king cannot do everything at once and render his friend like himself, rather, he does it little by little. First he prepares a royal palace for him, similar to his own. Then he sends the adornments to decorate the royal palace. He forms a little army for him, then he gives him half of his kingdom, so as to be able to say, "What you possess, I possess. King am I, king are you." However, each time the king would give him his gifts, he would look at his faithfulness, and giving the gift would be for him an occasion for new contentment, greater glory and honor for himself, and a new feast. If the king had wanted to give to his friend, all at once, that which he has given him little by little, he would have embarrassed his friend, because he was not trained to be able to dominate. But, little by little, through his faithfulness, he has been instructed, so everything is easy for him. So I did with you. Having chosen you in a special way to live in the height of my will, I have instructed you little by little, making it known to you. And as I kept making it known to you, I enlarged your capacity, preparing it for another greater knowledge. And every time I manifest to you one value, one effect of my will, I feel a greater contentment and I make feast along with heaven. Now, as these truths of mine go out, you redouble my contentments and my feasts. Therefore, let me do it, and you, plunge yourself more into my will. September 6, 1921. As the truths are known, new union with Jesus is formed. Jesus wants to make known what his will did in his humanity in order to constitute the new generations as heirs of his will, and of the effects and the value it contains. I was fusing all of myself in the holy will of my sweet Jesus, and I said to him, "My love, I enter into your will, and here I find all the thoughts of your mind and all those of creatures. I surround your thoughts with my thoughts and with those of all my brothers, and then I unite them together, making them one in order to give you the homage, the adoration, the glory, the love, the reparation of your own intelligence." While I was saying this, my Jesus moved in my interior, and standing up, told me, "Inseparable daughter of my will, how happy I am in hearing repeated what my humanity did in my will. And I kiss your thoughts in mine, your words in mine, your heartbeat in mine." And as he was saying this, he covered all of me with kisses. Then I said to him, "My life, why do you enjoy so much and make feast every time you manifest another effect of your will? And Jesus, you must know that every time I manifest to you one more truth about my will, it is one more bond that I form between you and me, and with the whole human family. It is a greater union, it is a tighter link, it is sharing my inheritances, and as I manifest them I form the deed of donation, and in seeing my children richer and sharing in the inheritance, I feel new contentments and I make feast. It happens to me as to a father who possesses much land, and this land is unknown to his children. They do not know that they are children of a father so rich. Now, as the children come of age, the father keeps telling them day after day that he possesses such and such farm. On hearing this, the children make feast and cling to the father with a greater bond of love. In seeing the feast of the children, the father makes feast and prepares for them another greater surprise, saying to them, "Such province is mine. And then, such kingdom." The children are enchanted, and they not only celebrate, but believe themselves fortunate to be the children of this father. And the father not only makes his possessions known to his children, but he constitutes them heirs of his goods. The same happens to me. Up until now I have made known what my humanity did, its virtues, its pains, in order to constitute the human family as heir of the goods of my humanity. Now I want to move forward, and I want to make known to it what my will did in my humanity so as to constitute the new generations as heirs of my will, of the effects and the value it contains. Therefore, be attentive in listening to me, and do not lose anything of the effects and the value of this will of mine, so that you may be the faithful bearer of these goods, the first link of union with my will, and of communication with the other creatures. September 14, 1921. Each time the soul does her acts in the divine will, she grows more and more in sanctity. Continuing in my usual state, my always lovable Jesus, on coming, told me, "My daughter, each time the soul does her acts in my will, she grows more and more before me in wisdom, in goodness, in power and beauty. In fact, as she keeps repeating her acts in my will, she takes more bites of wisdom, of goodness, etc., and the soul grows with the food from which she feeds herself. This is why in the Holy Gospel it is written that I grew in wisdom before God and before men. As God, I could neither grow nor decrease. My growth was just in my humanity which, growing in age, came to multiply my acts in the supreme volition. And each additional act, I did, was additional growth in the wisdom of the Celestial Father. This growth of mine was so true that even creatures noticed it. Each one of my acts ran in the immense sea of the divine will, and as I operated, I nourished myself with this celestial food. It would take too long to tell you about the seas of wisdom, of goodness, of beauty and power that my humanity swallowed in every additional act it performed. The same happens to the soul. My daughter, sanctity in the divine will grows in every instant. There is nothing that can escape from growing, and that the soul cannot let flow in the infinite sea of my will. The most indifferent things, sleep, food, work, etc., can enter into my will and take their place of honor as agents of my will. If only the soul wants it so, all things, from the greatest to the smallest, can be opportunities to enter my will, which does not happen with virtues. In fact, if one wants to exercise the virtues, many times the occasion is missing. If the soul wants to exercise obedience, it takes someone who commands her, and it may happen that for days and weeks there is no one to give new orders for her to obey. Therefore, as much as goodwill to obey as she might have, poor obedience will remain idle. The same with patience, humility and all the other virtues. Since they are virtues of this low world, other creatures are needed in order to exercise them. On the other hand, my will is virtue of heaven, and I alone am enough to maintain the soul every instant in continuous exercise. It is easy for me to keep her up night and day, in order to maintain her exercised in my will. September 16, 1921. Jesus mocked by Herod. How these pains are renewed by creatures. Through his acts, Jesus molded our acts in his will. I was doing the hour of the Passion in which my sweet Jesus was in the palace of Herod, clothed as a madman and mocked. And my always lovable Jesus, making himself seen, told me, "My daughter, not only then was I clothed like a madman, sneered at and mocked, but creatures continue to give me these pains. Even more, I am under continuous mockeries, and by all kinds of people. If a person goes to confession and does not maintain his resolutions not to offend me, this is a mockery that he makes of me. If a priest confesses, preaches, administers the sacraments, and his life does not correspond to the words he says and to the dignity of the sacraments he administers, he mocks me as many times for as many words as he says, and for as many sacraments as he administers. While I give them new life in the sacraments, they give me scorns and mockeries, and by profaning them, they prepare for me the garment to clothe me as a madman. If superiors command sacrifice, virtue, prayer and disinterest to their subjects, while they conduct a life of comfort, of vice and of interest, these are as many mockeries that they make of me. If civilian and ecclesiastical leaders want the observance of the laws, and they are the first transgressors, these are mockeries that they make of me. Oh, how many mockeries they make of me! They are so many that I am tired of them, especially when they put the poison of evil under good. Oh, how they make fun of me, as if I were their amusement and their pastime. But sooner or later justice will make fun of them, by punishing them severely. You, pray and repair for these mockeries which grieve me so much, and are the cause for which I do not make myself known for who I am. Afterwards, coming back again, as I was fusing all of myself in the divine will, he told me, "Dearest daughter of my will, I anxiously await your fusions in my will. You must know that as I thought in my will, I kept molding your thoughts in my will, preparing the place for them. As I worked, I molded your works in my will, and so with all the rest. Now, whatever I did not do for myself since I did not need it, but for you. This is why I await you in my will, that you may come and take the places which my humanity prepared for you. And over my moldings, come and do yours. Only then am I content and I receive complete glory, when I see you do what I did."